This image has captivated everyone online. Look at what the dog discovered. On her way back from work, Lucy noticed a dog positioned above a storm drain, looking down with a sorrowful expression. Peering into the drain herself, Lucy was stunned by what the dog had stumbled upon. Earlier, as she was leaving work, she passed by a shop where a German shepherd with a glossy black coat was standing. The dog's beauty was undeniable, and it drew Lucy's attention immediately. However, she was struck by the dog's melancholic gaze, filled with a sense of yearning as it stood vigil over the drain. Noticing the dog's sadness tugged at her emotions, yet she decided to keep walking towards home, thinking the dog's owner might be inside the shop and would come out soon. After a taxing day, all Lucy wanted was to relax. She felt she couldn't spare the time to soothe the dog. The following day, Lucy found herself on the same street and saw the dog again, stationed over the same drain, looking down with a melancholic air. This time, Lucy was heading to the store to pick up some groceries. As she neared the entrance, she caught the dog's weary gaze. She noticed his body stiffen as she passed by. After entering the store, she glanced back through the glass door and saw him once more staring sadly into the drain. She speculated that the dog might be hungry, especially since he seemed to know that the store carried treats, which could explain why he remained outside. Closer observation led her to believe that the dog didn't have an owner. It appeared he had spent the night there, curled up on the hard, cold pavement. The image of the dog spending the night alone on the streets deeply saddened her. Determined to assist him, she decided to start by addressing his hunger. While shopping for her groceries, Lucy also picked up some dog treats, primarily dried meat, which she was sure he would enjoy. She purchased enough to ensure he would be well fed, as she couldn't be certain when he would eat next. After completing her shopping, Lucy exited the store, treats in hand, and gently placed them on the ground, encouraging the dog with a warm smile to help himself. The dog watched her intently for a few moments, motionless. Realizing he was still cautious, she stepped back from the treats. Prompted by her retreat, the dog approached and began to pick up the treats with his mouth. However, to Lucy's astonishment, he did not eat them. Instead, he carried them to the drain and methodically pushed them through the grates, each one vanishing into the abyss below. Lucy watched, stunned and unable to move, as each treat disappeared. It dawned on her that she had misunderstood the situation. The dog was not there hoping for food from passers-by, but was deeply focused on something inside the drain. She was perplexed by what could be so important in the drain that it overshadowed the dog's own hunger. Realizing that something unusual was happening, Lucy's curiosity surged. She resolved to solve the mystery that captivated the dog's attention so intensely. She approached the drain, eager for a closer look, but as she took a step forward, the dog sprang up and barked in warning. Its body was rigid, and it appeared ready to launch at her. It was clearly guarding something it didn't want anyone to approach. The message was unmistakable. As Lucy watched the dog, she realized it was on the verge of attacking if provoked. She felt a surge of fear, a new and intense emotion she hadn't previously felt around dogs. As a child, Lucy had deeply desired a puppy, pleading with her mother for months to get one. She envisioned a furry friend to play with and cherish. Yet, her single mother, already stretched thin financially and without any support, couldn't manage the additional responsibility of a pet. Her mother had to focus on meeting Lucy's essential needs first. She explained their circumstances with patience, and over time, Lucy accepted their reality and stopped asking for a puppy. Her interest in dogs waned as she matured. However, destiny seemed to have other ideas. Years later, as an adult, Lucy found herself in a tough situation when her mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, leading to a role reversal between them. Lucy took on the role of caregiver, striving to make her mother's last days as comfortable, peaceful, and joyful as possible, despite the harsh reality that their time together was dwindling. During this period, Lucy's weight dropped significantly, leaving her a shadow of her previous self. She faced constant financial challenges, pouring all her earnings into her mother's medical expenses. Ultimately, her mother passed away with Lucy by her side, gripping her hand. Overcome with grief, Lucy cried uncontrollably, the weight of her solitude in the world crashing down on her. Returning home from the hospital later that day, heart laden with sorrow, Lucy was surprised to find an abandoned dog waiting by her door. The dog looked up at her with the saddest, most soulful eyes she had ever seen, marking an unexpected interruption to her solitude. Before we proceed with the story, I'd like to take a moment to ask you to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support is crucial for us. Thank you so much. The dog seemed to be pleading with Lucy to take it in, seeking a place where it could belong and feel comforted. Its fur was tangled and filthy, its ears drooped sadly, and its tail was low, all signs of its life as a stray. Overwhelmed by a whirlwind of emotions, Lucy initially felt unprepared to take care of a dog, knowing little about their needs and not feeling ready for such a responsibility. However, her grief made it impossible for her to find the energy to send the dog away, so she simply walked past it and entered her home. That night, Lucy found it hard to sleep, her thoughts dominated by memories of her mother. Compounding her restlessness was the soft barking coming from outside her house. When it became too persistent to ignore, she got up to check and found the sound coming from her front door. Opening the door, she was surprised to see the dog still there, barking gently. She had assumed it had left, but there it was, soaked from the rain and shivering with a runny nose. The sight tugged at her heartstrings, stirring feelings of guilt. Without hesitation, she brought the dog inside and let it warm up by the fire, covering it with a blanket. For the remainder of the night, they stayed together by the fireplace, forming an unexpected bond. It seemed they shared their grief, finding solace in each other's company during a time of mutual sorrow. The following morning, the thought of sending him away never even entered Lucy's mind. The dog quickly became an integral part of her life, and she affectionately named him Comfort. She grew to love him deeply and even brought him along to her mother's burial. Together, Lucy and Comfort traversed the somber path of grief, helping each other heal and grow stronger from the ordeal. As the years went by, Lucy gradually returned to her life as it was before her mother's passing. However, another unfortunate event was about to unfold. It baffled Lucy when she came home from work one evening, expecting to be greeted by Comfort's wagging tail and cheerful demeanor. Instead, she found him outside, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Confused, she thought she might have forgotten to lock the gate, yet something seemed off, as she was typically very meticulous. As Lucy approached the road, Comfort noticed her and barked joyfully, his tail wagging uncontrollably. Her heart filled with love, and she quickened her step to meet him. But Comfort, overwhelmed with excitement, sprinted into the road without noticing the car that was speeding around the corner. Time seemed to crawl for Lucy as she watched in horror. The car screeched to a stop, but it was already too late. Comfort lay motionless, his eyes locked in a final unseeing gaze. Lucy's scream pierced the quiet as she ran to his side, cradling his lifeless form while tears flooded her cheeks. She pleaded for him to return, but he was gone forever. In the aftermath of the accident, Lucy was engulfed by a numbness that mirrored the grief she had felt at her mother's death. Comfort, once a beacon of healing, had been abruptly taken from her, deepening her sorrow. She tormented herself with guilt, believing that had she ensured the gate was locked, this tragedy could have been avoided. With time, Lucy resolved to pull herself together, convinced that neither her mother nor Comfort would have wanted her to break down. She returned to her job, though nothing felt the same. The loss weighed heavily on her, making each day a challenge. She even tried to find solace by adopting another dog, but the visits to the pound ended in tears as no other dog could fill the void left by comfort. Resolved and heartbroken, Lucy vowed never to get another pet, sealing her promise in a bid to guard against further heartache. Since that tragic loss, Lucy had steered clear of dogs and shied away from forming any personal connections with them. Yet, as she observed the dog standing guard over the drain, she found herself puzzled. She had assumed it might have been hungry, but it had discarded all the treats into the drain. She was determined to discover what lay within the drain, but her current position offered no visibility. It was clear she needed a new approach to investigate. Giving the dog a parting wave, she left, and the dog watched her until she disappeared from view, then returned its gaze to the drain. Unbeknownst to the dog, Lucy was already formulating a plan. That night, dressed in black to blend into the shadows, Lucy revisited the site, hoping the dog might have left, allowing her to take a closer look. However, the dog was still there, vigilantly standing watch. As she approached, the dog barked fiercely at her. Wanting to avoid attracting attention, she quickly retreated and ran away. This deepened her confusion. The dog's refusal to abandon the spot intrigued her. She was desperate to understand the reason, realizing a more thoughtful and effective strategy was necessary. She recognized that as long as the dog remained untrusting, it would not permit her to approach the drain. Realizing that befriending the dog was her only viable option, Lucy began her efforts to win its trust the following day. She decided to call the dog Ninja, inspired by his sleek, glossy black coat. Each day after work, she stopped by the store to pick up treats for him. She watched as he ate some and slid the others into the drain, but she simply observed without interfering. Day after day, she repeated this ritual, always using his new name to help him grow accustomed to it. Within a week, her consistent efforts began to pay off. Ninja started to eagerly anticipate her visits. His tail would wag excitedly whenever he saw her, and his expressive eyes watched her with hopeful anticipation. During these visits, she would feed him treats, and gradually, he allowed her to pet him. This gentle routine helped them forge a bond, almost without them realizing it. Soon enough, Ninja trusted her enough to let her come close to the drain. Finally, the moment Lucy had been waiting for arrived. She was about to find out what was hidden inside the drain. Lucy leaned over the drain, straining her eyes in the pitch darkness, searching for any hint of what might be concealed within. Despite the lack of visibility and the curious glances from passers-by, she persisted, kneeling down for a closer look. Initially, she found nothing. However, as her face drew near to the drain, a faint sound cut through the hustle and bustle of the surrounding traffic. Tilting her head, she pressed her ear against the drain, and the sound grew slightly clearer. To her surprise, she detected the soft meowing of a kitten trapped inside the drain. Her heart racing, Lucy wasted no time calling the fire department, explaining the situation in urgent tones. The firefighters were quick to respond, arriving on the scene in moments. As soon as they reached her, Lucy pointed them towards the drain. The grate was promptly removed, and a firefighter shone a flashlight into the dark recess. He confirmed Lucy's suspicion with a nod. There indeed was a kitten trapped inside. But the rescue was not going to be straightforward. The drain was deep. One of the firefighters had to climb down into it to reach the frightened animal. As the firefighter reached down into the depth of the drain, he brought up not one, but 6 kittens, one after another. Lucy watched in astonishment, her jaw dropping at the sight of the tiny creatures that had been trapped without anyone's knowledge. The firefighters speculated that the kittens had likely been swept into the drain during a recent heavy rain and were unable to escape. Lucy turned her gaze to Ninja, her admiration for him growing. It became clear that Ninja had known about the kittens' plight all along. He had not only refused to leave their side, but had also shared his treats with them and stood guard to protect them. His initial aggressiveness was born out of a distrust towards others, fearing they might not care for the kittens as he did. Now that they were safe, Ninja's demeanor changed dramatically. His tail wagged happily, and he playfully tried to lick Lucy's feet. Lucy led Ninja over to where the rescued kittens were being cared for. A few of them were sick and needed immediate medical attention, so preparations were made to transport them to the nearest veterinary clinic. Onlookers took photos of Ninja and the kittens, marveling at the dog's intelligence and dedication. Everyone acknowledged that without Ninja, the kittens might have remained unnoticed and in peril. As the kittens were taken to the vet, Lucy decided to take Ninja home, unwilling to leave him on the streets any longer. He seemed just as enthusiastic about joining her, his tail signaling his excitement. This was a significant moment for Lucy. Ninja was the first dog she had brought home since the loss of Comfort, and she felt a mix of anticipation and nervousness, wondering how he would adapt to his new home. Fortunately, her fears were unfounded. He adored her home, bouncing around with such enthusiasm that it brought her to joyful laughter. He brought back memories of her times with Comfort. Over the following weeks, they did everything together, eating, frolicking, and much more, even sharing the same bed at night. Lucy's heart swelled with affection, recognizing in Ninja a new partner to share the delights of life with. Realizing her deep love for him, she decided to formalize their bond by completing the adoption paperwork. At the same time, each of the kittens had found a loving home, now under the care of devoted families who would look after them unconditionally. Additionally, the internet was abuzz with photos of Ninja and the kittens, sparking widespread admiration and curiosity. People eagerly discussed his actions and clamored for more. Lucy felt a deep sense of pride and happiness for Ninja's newfound fame. What do you think of this story? Would you have acted like Lucy in this situation? Do you own a dog, or have you ever adopted one? How significant is that to you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, please consider subscribing to our channel and giving this video a thumbs up. Life throws many challenges our way, but by persevering, we can find happiness once again. Thank you for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.